Chicago, a city built on ambition, but haunted by shadows. Behind the jazz clubs and the skyscrapers lurked an empire of crime, power, and silence, an empire known only as the Outfit. Their story isn't just about gangsters, it's about a force so hidden, so untouchable, that even today, people still whisper, "Are they really gone?" Chicago, 1920. The city was restless. Prohibition had just slammed the doors shut on legal liquor, but instead of drying up, alcohol flooded the streets through back alleys and hidden speakeasies. Behind this black market, a silent force was rising. It wasn't just one man, nor a single gang, it was an empire in the making. An empire the world would later know as the Chicago Outfit. At first, they were small-time hustlers, smuggling whiskey from Canada, bribing local police, and protecting their turf with brass knuckles and shotguns. But soon, one man's name began to strike fear and respect alike: Alphonse Al Capone. Charismatic yet ruthless, Capone transformed the Outfit from a gang into a syndicate, running the city with a mix of blood and charm. But power came at a cost. Rival gangs wanted their share, and Chicago became a battlefield. The bloodiest warning came on February 14, 1929, a day etched in infamy. Men in police uniforms lined up Bugs Moran's gang against a brick wall and gunned them down in cold blood. 7 corpses left behind, but only whispers connected it to Capone. The St. Valentine's Day Massacre shocked America, sealing Chicago's reputation as the city of gangland slaughter. Yet here's the twist: Capone's empire didn't crumble because of bullets. It was shattered by accountants. In 1931, the mighty kingpin was dragged down not for murder, but for tax evasion. The newspapers mocked, the public gasped, and the Outfit quietly adjusted. Capone was gone, but the machine he built was far from finished. Under leaders like Tony "Joe" Batters Accardo and Sam Giancana, the Outfit grew more invisible, more dangerous. They traded Tommy guns for politics, stacking unions, infiltrating Las Vegas casinos, and even brushing shoulders with the CIA. Some whispered they had a hand in JFK's election and his assassination. Truth or myth? No one could prove it, but the shadows grew darker. By the 1960s, the Outfit wasn't just about Chicago anymore, it was an octopus, its tentacles gripping cities, casinos, and even foreign deals. Unlike the flashy New York mobsters, Chicago bosses thrived in silence. No headlines, no cameras, just whispers and fear. They were ghosts who controlled millions. But with every empire, the walls eventually close in. The FBI, wiretaps, and witnesses began cracking the armor. Yet the true question still lingers today: did the Chicago Outfit really die, or did it simply melt deeper into the shadows? When the United States passed the 18th Amendment in 1920, banning the sale and production of alcohol, the government believed it was enforcing morality. Instead, it opened the door to one of the darkest and most profitable eras in American history. Overnight, Chicago, already a city buzzing with vice, gambling halls, and backroom deals, became a goldmine for anyone bold enough to break the law. Ordinary citizens who still craved their nightly whiskey or weekend beer turned into customers for the underground trade. In this chaos, the seeds of the Chicago Outfit were planted. At first, bootlegging was small-scale. Neighborhood gangs hijacked shipments, bribed police officers, and sold watered-down gin through hidden taverns called speakeasies. But Chicago was not like other cities, it was larger, dirtier, and more corrupt. Politicians, judges, and cops were easy to buy, and money flowed faster than the law could keep up. Soon, a loose network of gangs realized that working together could yield far more profit than working alone. This cooperation wasn't born out of trust, but out of necessity. The black market was too big for one group to control, and those with ambition began to dream bigger. The Outfit began to take shape when these networks merged under a vision of organization. It wasn't just about smuggling liquor, it was about creating an empire of control. From the breweries hidden in basements to the secret warehouses along the Chicago River, every bottle and every barrel that made its way into the city was taxed by the underworld. Money didn't just change hands, it bought loyalty, silence, and protection. For the first time, organized crime in Chicago wasn't just chaos in the streets, it was a system, and that system was growing stronger every day. But with wealth came violence. Rival gangs refused to submit, and soon the city streets became war zones. Drive-by shootings rattled neighborhoods, assassinations struck fear into the public, and ordinary citizens found themselves caught in a battle they didn't understand. Chicago became a city where gunfire at night was as common as the sound of a passing train. The outfit thrived in this chaos, using both brutality and bribery to eliminate competition. Those who didn't bend the knee often didn't live to see another sunrise. As the profits grew, so did the ambitions. Liquor was just the beginning. The leaders of this budding empire saw beyond beer and whiskey. They saw a future built on gambling, prostitution, loan sharking, and political power. They weren't just building a criminal network, they were constructing the foundations of a dynasty that would shape the city's history for decades. Chicago was no longer just a city of jazz and smoke, it was becoming the capital of an empire built on secrets, blood, and shadows. Into this storm of bootlegging and bloodshed stepped a man whose name would one day echo through history, Alphonse Gabriel Capone. Born in Brooklyn in 1899, Capone arrived in Chicago as a young man looking for opportunity. He carried with him a quick mind, a fiery temper, and a scar that ran across his left cheek, a mark that earned him the nickname Scarface. But unlike the average street thug, Capone had something most gangsters lacked: charm. He could smile, joke, and win people over just as easily as he could order their execution. This combination made him dangerous, and in Chicago, it made him unstoppable. Capone first worked under Johnny Torrio, a seasoned gangster who saw the potential in the young man. Torrio was strategic, preferring business over brawls, and he groomed Capone as his right-hand man. When Prohibition opened the floodgates of illegal wealth, Torrio used Capone's street smarts and boldness to expand operations across Chicago. Speakeasies, breweries, and brothels soon fell under their control. Yet it was not just the profits that made Capone stand out, it was his ability to manage both sides of the coin. He could bribe a politician in the morning and order a hit by nightfall, always keeping his empire growing. When Torrio survived an assassination attempt in 1925, he decided to retire, leaving the empire in Capone's hands. Overnight, Capone became the boss of Chicago's underworld. His rise was meteoric. At just 26 years old, he controlled an empire worth millions of dollars, with soldiers, politicians, and police all answering to him in one way or another. To the public, he was a paradox. Some saw him as a ruthless killer, while others admired him as a modern-day Robin Hood who opened soup kitchens during the Great Depression and gave money to the poor. The newspapers couldn't get enough of him, and his face appeared on front pages nationwide. But Capone's charisma hid a darker side. His reign was marked by violence that seemed to grow more brutal with each passing year. Rivals were gunned down in broad daylight, bodies turned up in alleys, and fear gripped the city. Capone understood that fear was as powerful a weapon as money, and he wielded both with precision. Chicago became his stage, and every murder, every deal, every bribe was part of his performance. He wasn't just a gangster anymore, he was a symbol, both celebrated and cursed. The government tried to shut him down, but Capone always seemed one step ahead. Judges were bought, juries were threatened, and witnesses disappeared before trials. For a time, it seemed as though no one could touch him. The police feared him, the politicians needed him, and the people both hated and admired him. He ruled not just as a criminal, but as a king of shadows, a man whose empire was built on liquor, blood, and influence. Chicago had never seen anything like him, and the world would never forget his name. By the late 1920s, Chicago was no longer just a city of jazz clubs and speakeasies, it had become a battlefield. Every block, every bar, and every shipment of liquor was contested ground between rival gangs. Al Capone's outfit faced constant threats from competitors like George "Bugs" Moran's North Side Gang, and the city's streets became rivers of blood as each faction fought for control. The citizens of Chicago lived in a state of uneasy fear, never knowing when a hail of bullets might shatter the night air. To survive in this underworld, one had to choose a side, or risk becoming collateral damage. Drive-by shootings became almost routine. Cars loaded with men carrying Tommy guns would speed down crowded streets, spraying bullets into storefronts and restaurants where rivals were known to gather. Innocent bystanders often paid the price, their lives cut short simply for being in the wrong place at the wrong time. Newspapers sensationalized these killings, splashing headlines across front pages with gruesome photographs, turning Chicago into the poster child of organized crime. For the outfit, however, this was not chaos, it was strategy. Every public killing sent a message: loyalty meant safety, defiance meant death. The violence escalated with each passing year, reaching its chilling climax on February 14, 1929. In a quiet garage on North Clark Street, 7 members of Bugs Moran's gang were lined up against a brick wall by men dressed as police officers. What happened next was an execution that stunned the nation. The men were riddled with bullets in a storm of gunfire, their bodies crumpling in a heap of blood and dust. Known forever as the St. Valentine's Day Massacre, it became the most infamous act of gangland violence in American history. Though Capone himself was never directly linked, the public had little doubt who was behind it. The massacre sent shockwaves far beyond Chicago. Newspapers from coast to coast condemned the bloodshed, politicians cried out for action, and ordinary citizens began to see gangsters not as flashy celebrities, but as ruthless murderers. Yet inside Chicago, fear kept mouths shut. Witnesses rarely came forward, and those who dared often vanished before their testimony could be heard. Capone's outfit continued to thrive, feeding on fear, while rivals found themselves steadily weakened. In this world, survival didn't depend on strength alone, it depended on how far one was willing to go. Still, the bloodshed was far from over. With every rival eliminated, new enemies emerged, each hungrier and more reckless than the last. Chicago became a city where power was measured in bullets, and the line between lawman and gangster blurred with each bribe and backroom deal. For Capone and his outfit, violence was not just a tool of survival, it was the very language of their empire. And as the blood spilled across the city's streets, the outfit's grip grew tighter, even as the walls of law and justice slowly began to close and, for years, Al Capone seemed untouchable. He had outmaneuvered rivals, silenced witnesses, and bought the loyalty of politicians, judges, and police officers. Every attempt to bring him down failed before it even began. When prosecutors built cases of murder or racketeering, key evidence mysteriously disappeared, and jurors either changed their minds or were too terrified to convict. To the public, Capone looked like a man above the law, ruling Chicago from his luxury suites at the Lexington Hotel, untouchable in his tailored suits and diamond rings. But behind the scenes, a new kind of enemy was closing in, not gangsters with Tommy guns, but men with ledgers, calculators, and relentless patience. The federal government, desperate to dismantle Capone's empire, turned to a strategy few had considered: his taxes. Though he flaunted his wealth openly, driving expensive cars, wearing custom-made clothes, and dining in lavish restaurants, Capone had never filed an income tax return. To most, that detail seemed trivial compared to the violence he orchestrated. But to the Treasury Department, it was a thread worth pulling. If they couldn't catch him for murder, they would catch him for money. It was a subtle, almost ironic weapon, bringing down America's most feared gangster not with bullets, but with numbers. Investigators quietly began building their case. They combed through records, interviewed associates, and tracked the paper trail left behind by Capone's extravagant lifestyle. Witnesses were coaxed into testifying, and bookkeepers were pressured into revealing the outfit's hidden financial dealings. Slowly, the picture came together. Capone had made millions but paid nothing to the government. Every dollar of unpaid taxes became another nail in his coffin. What Capone didn't realize was that the law he had mocked for so long was about to strike back with devastating precision. In 1931, the unthinkable happened. Capone was indicted on charges of tax evasion. The trial was a spectacle. Reporters crowded the courthouse, eager to see if the mighty Scarface would finally be brought down. Capone's lawyers tried every trick in the book: delays, intimidation, even attempted jury tampering. But this time, the government was ready. On the morning of the trial, the judge ordered the entire jury replaced with a secret panel to prevent corruption. For once, Capone's influence couldn't reach far enough, and the walls around him began to close. The verdict sent shockwaves across the nation. Capone, who had commanded an empire of blood and fear, was sentenced to 11 years in federal prison. The man who once ruled Chicago's streets with a grin and a gun was led away in handcuffs, not for murder or massacre, but for failing to pay his taxes. To many, it was almost unbelievable, the king of the underworld toppled by paperwork. But for the outfit, it was not the end. Capone's fall was just another chapter in the saga, and the empire he built would survive long after his name was etched into history. With Al Capone locked away and his health slowly deteriorating, many believed the outfit would crumble without its flamboyant leader. But the empire Capone built was never designed to rest on one man's shoulders. In the vacuum of power, new leaders emerged, men far less interested in headlines and far more dangerous in silence. Among them was Tony Joe Batters Accardo, a man who preferred to operate in the background, and later Sam Giancana, a ruthless yet calculating figure whose ambition reached beyond Chicago's streets. Together, they would shape the outfit into something even more formidable than Capone had ever imagined. Accardo, unlike Capone, shunned the spotlight. He understood that visibility was a weakness, and that true power lay in invisibility. Where Capone had basked in fame, Accardo worked quietly, restructuring the outfit into a disciplined organization that resembled a corporate empire more than a street gang. He tightened operations, expanded rackets, and ensured that money flowed steadily through gambling, unions, and loan sharking. His calm demeanor earned him the respect of his men, but it was his ruthless efficiency that cemented his rule. Anyone who challenged him quickly disappeared, their fate whispered about but never confirmed. Then came Sam Giancana, who rose under Accardo's watch. Giancana was both a visionary and a predator. He blended charm with cruelty, making him capable of negotiating with businessmen one moment and ordering a hit the next. Under his leadership, the outfit began reaching beyond Chicago's borders. They sank their claws into Las Vegas casinos, turning the desert into a river of cash. They pushed deeper into labor unions, controlling strikes and skimming millions from pension funds. And most chilling of all, whispers spread of their ties to intelligence agencies and international politics. The world of Giancana blurred the line between crime and government. Some claimed the outfit helped secure votes in key states during John F. Kennedy's presidential election, using union muscle and mob money to swing the tide. Others whispered about secret CIA collaborations, where mobsters and spies shared common enemies in Cuba and beyond. Whether these stories were fact or myth, one thing was certain: the outfit had evolved from a city gang into a global network of power, able to move silently in shadows where no jury or courtroom could reach them. But with every expansion came risk. The outfit was no longer fighting petty rivals on Chicago's streets, it was navigating the dangerous waters of politics, intelligence, and international intrigue. Accardo and Giancana had transformed Capone's empire into something far more subtle and enduring. Chicago still pulsed with mob activity, but the real power was now hidden, operating from smoky backrooms and whispered phone calls. The age of Tommy guns and public massacres was fading. In its place, a quieter, more chilling empire of shadows had taken hold. By the mid-20th century, Chicago's outfit had its eyes fixed on a new frontier, Las Vegas. What was once a dusty desert town in Nevada was quickly transforming into a glittering oasis of neon lights, casinos, and endless opportunity. To the outfit, Vegas was more than a tourist attraction, it was a gold mine waiting to be drained. Gambling was legal there, but regulation was weak, and the mob saw its chance. If they could control the casinos, they wouldn't just be running games of chance, they'd be running rivers of untraceable cash. The outfit began investing in casino construction, often through front men or seemingly legitimate businessmen. Money from Chicago's illegal rackets flowed west, financing iconic establishments that drew in celebrities, politicians, and tourists by the thousands. But behind the glamour, the system was rotten. The outfit developed a method known as the skim. Before the casino profits were officially recorded, mob operatives would pull cash directly from the count rooms. This money was untaxed, untraceable, and sent straight back to Chicago's coffers. Millions vanished before the government ever knew it existed. the Las Vegas casinos became more than just profit centers, they became hubs of power. With the outfit's influence, entertainers were booked, high rollers were courted, and debts were enforced with silent threats. A gambler who failed to pay might wake up with broken bones, or never wake up at all. Vegas sparkled on the surface, selling dreams of fortune and glamour, but in the shadows of the Strip, Chicago's hand guided every deal. The outfit had turned a city of lights into a kingdom of shadows. What made Vegas even more dangerous was the web of alliances it created. The Chicago outfit wasn't the only player. Mob families from New York, Cleveland, and Kansas City also had stakes in the casinos. Together, they formed a fragile network of cooperation, carving out shares of the profits while keeping the government at bay. It was a silent pact sealed not by contracts, but by blood. If one family tried to take more than its share, the consequences were swift and merciless. The balance of power in Vegas was as fragile as the roll of dice, and one misstep could spark a war. Still, the lure of Vegas was irresistible. The outfit's reach extended beyond the casino floors into unions that built the hotels, politicians who approved licenses, and entertainers who performed under mob contracts. Las Vegas was no longer just a desert city, it was the outfit's playground, a place where the rules of law bent easily under the weight of cash and fear. For Chicago's mob, Vegas was not just about money, it was about legitimacy, influence, and the seductive illusion of respectability. Beneath the neon lights, the shadows only grew deeper. By the 1960s, the Chicago outfit had evolved far beyond bootlegging and casino skimming. Its influence stretched into the very fabric of American politics, where power was traded as ruthlessly as liquor once had been. The outfit understood something vital: controlling politicians could be even more profitable than controlling liquor or gambling. Money funneled into campaigns, votes swayed by union pressure, and quiet threats ensured that certain candidates owed their victories to men operating from smoke-filled backrooms in Chicago. It was here, in this shadowy blend of crime and politics, that whispers of the outfit's ties to the Kennedy family first began. When John F. Kennedy ran for president in 1960, rumors swirled that the outfit played a role in tipping the scales. Chicago, with its powerful unions and voter blocs, was a crucial battleground. Stories emerged of ballots mysteriously appearing in favor of Kennedy, of outfit-connected ward bosses ensuring that the right votes were counted, and of Giancana himself orchestrating a behind-the-scenes campaign of influence. Whether these accounts were truth or myth, they created a lasting suspicion that the path to the White House had been paved, at least in part, by the Chicago mob. But the connection didn't end with rumors of election fraud. Giancana, bold and ambitious, allegedly had ties to Judith Campbell Exner, a woman romantically linked to both him and President Kennedy. To some, this was proof of a dangerous entanglement, an intimate thread binding the world's most powerful office to the shadows of organized crime. If true, it meant the outfit didn't just buy votes, it had a window into the private life of the president himself. For a syndicate built on leverage and secrets, such a connection was worth more than millions. Adding another layer of intrigue were whispers of the CIA. During the height of the Cold War, America's intelligence agencies were desperate to find ways to eliminate Cuban leader Fidel Castro. The CIA, some claimed, turned to the outfit for help. Who better to carry out an assassination than men skilled in the art of murder, who had no official ties to the U.S. government? In smoky hotel rooms and back channels, mobsters and spies allegedly forged uneasy alliances, their interests briefly aligned against a common enemy. It was a chilling partnership where patriotism and crime blurred beyond recognition. Yet these entanglements carried danger. If the outfit truly had its fingers in elections, the presidency, and international espionage, it was playing a game far riskier than controlling speakeasies or casinos. Secrets at this level were explosive, capable of bringing down governments or igniting scandals that could shake the nation. And in the shadows of Chicago, the outfit's leaders knew that power came with peril, that the higher they reached, the harder the fall could be. As the Chicago outfit tightened its grip on the United States, its ambitions began to stretch beyond American borders. The mobsters who once fought for street corners in Chicago now saw the world as their playground. International trade routes, exotic ports, and foreign casinos offered opportunities that made bootlegging look small. Smuggling wasn't limited to whiskey anymore, it expanded to drugs, weapons, and other lucrative ventures. Wherever money flowed, the outfit followed, pushing its influence into territories far beyond the Windy City. One of the most tantalizing opportunities lay in Cuba. Before Fidel Castro's revolution in 1959, Havana was a paradise for gamblers and tourists. Sun-soaked beaches and luxurious casinos drew Americans south, and the outfit was quick to capitalize. Chicago bosses partnered with other crime families to invest in Havana's glitzy resorts, skimming profits just as they did in Las Vegas. For a brief moment, Cuba became a tropical empire for the mob, its casinos raking in millions under the gaze of corrupt officials. But when Castro seized power and shut down the gambling halls, the outfit's dream collapsed overnight, leaving fortunes lost and grudges festering. Beyond Cuba, whispers of the outfit's hand could be found in Europe and South America. Through shipping routes and corrupt business fronts, Chicago mobsters allegedly dabbled in black market operations that funneled narcotics across oceans. The drug trade was more dangerous and volatile than liquor ever had been, but the profits were staggering. These ventures blurred the line between the outfit and international cartels, creating a shadow network of alliances that stretched across continents. In these dealings, betrayal was common, and violence was never far behind. The outfit's global reach was not just about money, it was about power. By embedding themselves in international markets, they gained leverage over governments, unions, and corporations. Some accounts suggest they moved laundered money through Swiss banks, while others speak of secret deals in South American dictatorships. Every new country added another layer of secrecy, making it harder for American authorities to track the outfit's operations. The empire that had once thrived on Chicago's streets was now entangled in the fabric of international crime. But with expansion came exposure. The more the outfit stretched its tentacles across the globe, the more dangerous the game became. International law enforcement agencies were less susceptible to Chicago's old tricks of bribery and intimidation. Deals made overseas could turn deadly if a partner betrayed them, and foreign governments were unpredictable allies. The outfit was no longer fighting rivals in back alleys, it was navigating a global web of crime, politics, and power, where one wrong move could bring the entire empire crashing down. Unlike the mob families of New York, who thrived on flamboyance and notoriety, the Chicago outfit perfected the art of invisibility. Their leaders understood that the spotlight was a curse, too much attention meant investigations, indictments, and eventual downfall. Where Al Capone once grinned for cameras and filled headlines, the new generation of bosses chose silence. They didn't strut in nightclubs or boast in public, they lived quietly in modest homes, letting others believe they were ordinary men. Yet behind that calm facade, they controlled empires worth millions. Tony Accardo embodied this philosophy better than anyone. After Capone, he became the shadowy architect of the outfit's survival. Accardo preferred to stay out of the public eye, rarely photographed, rarely quoted, and never flashy. But everyone in the underworld knew his power. His word was law, and his reach extended into unions, casinos, and businesses across the nation. He didn't need to shout his authority, his silence was enough to instill fear. Those who doubted him didn't last long, and their disappearances served as chilling reminders of the outfit's unseen hand. This strategy of operating in silence made the outfit unique. While New York bosses were paraded before television cameras during Mafia hearings, Chicago's rulers slipped quietly into the background, their names barely mentioned. The FBI struggled to build cases because there was little evidence, few witnesses, and no flamboyant public figures to track. The outfit thrived on this invisibility, earning billions while avoiding the chaos that destroyed louder syndicates. In a world where attention often led to death or prison, silence was the greatest weapon of all.